sign it." Emma Whitmore's hand froze above the paper. The number sat there like a brand burned into the page. $300. That was the price placed on her future, her youth, her name. Enough money to bury her father properly and keep her mother and younger siblings alive through a Montana winter that showed no mercy. She was 19 years old and about to be given to a widowed rancher with 5 children she had never met. The attorney cleared his throat, impatient. His pen tapped the desk once, sharp and cold. Across the room, her mother sat hunched in a chair, hands twisted together, eyes red and swollen from days of crying. She looked smaller than Emma remembered, like grief had hollowed her out.
"Miss Whitmore," the attorney said without looking up.
"If you're going to proceed, we'll need your signature." Emma swallowed. Her father had been dead for 3 days. Her mother had barely eaten in 2. Her 14-year-old brother had already been talking about working the mines, his voice trying to sound brave while fear lived just beneath it. Choice was a luxury for people with money. Emma had none. She picked up the pen and signed. The scratch of ink on paper sounded louder than it should have. Final. Permanent. "It's done," the attorney said, stamping the document. "The stagecoach leaves at dawn. Mr. Callahan's foreman will collect you in Willow Springs. The marriage will be performed upon arrival." Emma stood, her legs unsteady, like they belonged to someone else. Outside, the November wind cut straight through her coat. Her mother looked up as soon as she saw her face. "Is it done?" Catherine Whitmore asked, her voice breaking. "It's done." Her mother's face crumpled. "Emma, I'm so sorry. I never wanted." "Don't," Emma said, sharper than she meant to. "It doesn't change anything." They both knew there was no other way. That night, Emma packed what remained of her life into a single trunk. 3 dresses, her mother's Bible, a worn novel she had read so many times. The pages were soft. A small photograph of her father from before sickness had taken him piece by piece. 19 years of living, reduced to what one person could carry. There was a knock at the door. Emma, her brother Samuel, stepped inside, tall and thin, trying too hard to look grown. "I heard what you did." She didn't turn. "Then you know. You sold yourself," he said, anger and fear tangled together. "To a stranger. I made an arrangement. It's the same thing." He grabbed her shoulders. "You can't do this. I'll work. I'll do anything." "The mines killed Papa," Emma said quietly. "I won't let them take you two." She faced him then, gripping his wrists. "If I don't go, you all suffer. That's the truth." Tears streamed down his face, but he nodded. "I'll write," she told him. "You write back. Tell me everything." When dawn came, Emma climbed into the stagecoach and did not look back. The journey took 3 days. The land grew rougher, wilder, as if the world itself was thinning out. By the time the coach rolled into Willow Springs, her nerves were stretched tight. A man waited beside a wagon, hat in his hands. "Miss Whitmore," he said. "Ezra Hawkins, foreman at Silver Creek Ranch." He didn't smile. As they rode, dark clouds gathered on the horizon. "Storm's coming," Ezra said. "First big one of the season." Emma pulled her coat tighter. "Tell me about the children." Ezra's hands tightened on the reins. "Tom's 9. Thinks he's the man of the house. Rosie's 7. She hasn't spoken since her mother died. Will's 5. Grace is 3. Emma felt the weight settle in her chest. "And Mr. Callahan?" Ezra was quiet a long time. "He's a good man, but he's been empty since his wife died." When the ranch came into view, it looked like a place holding its breath. Before the wagon stopped, the front door burst open, and a small girl with dark curls ran out, then froze when she saw Emma. "That's Grace," Ezra murmured. Emma climbed down and crouched. "Hello, I'm Emma." Grace stared, then reached out and touched Emma's cheek, as if checking whether she was real. "Pretty," the child whispered, gripping her hand. A boy's voice cut through the moment. "That's her." Tom stood in the doorway, face hard, eyes older than they should have been. "I know why you're here," he said. Before Emma could answer, A deep voice spoke from behind them. "Children, inside." Nathaniel Callahan stood near the barn, tall and broad, his face carved by grief. Snow dusted his dark hair. His eyes were sharp and guarded. When the children were gone, he gestured toward the corral. "Walk with me." They stood by the fence as the wind picked up. "I didn't want this," he said, "but I couldn't do it alone anymore." "You bought a wife," Emma said evenly. "Yes." "Will you treat me with respect?" "Yes." "Will you expect me to share your bed?" "No, not unless you want to." She nodded. "Then we understand each other." The house was quiet when Emma entered too, quiet for a home with children. She found them gathered near the fire, small and still. "I'm hungry," Will said. "I'll make supper," Emma replied. She worked in the kitchen while Tom hovered, ready to take over. "Let me," she told him gently. "This is my job now." That night, the children ate hot food. Grace smiled. Will asked for seconds. Even Rosie cleaned her plate, silent but present. Nathaniel ate standing by the stove. Afterward, Emma climbed the stairs to the room that still smelled faintly of lavender. She lay awake, listening to the house settle, the storm howling outside. Tomorrow, she would be married. She closed her eyes and wondered what kind of life waited beyond the morning. The Reverend arrived just after sunrise, stamping snow from his boots on the porch like the cold itself offended him. Emma stood in the kitchen, hands folded, listening to the sound as if it marked the last moments of her old life slipping away. "Miss Whitmore," Tom said quietly behind her. "Papa says it's time." Emma nodded. Her heart felt steady in a strange, hollow way. Fear had burned itself out somewhere between yesterday and now. "I'm ready." She wasn't, but she walked into the main room anyway. Pine branches had been placed along the mantel, their sharp scent cutting through the stale air. The children stood in a line by the fireplace, scrubbed clean, dressed in their best clothes. Even baby Ellie was awake, balanced on Tom's hip, her red curls sticking out in every direction. Nathaniel stood near the window, back straight, shoulders tense. He looked like a man waiting for judgment. The ceremony was short. "Do you take?" "I do." "Do you take?" "I do." When the Reverend said they could kiss, Nathaniel leaned forward and brushed his lips against Emma's cheek. It was quick, careful, almost apologetic. And just like that, she was Emma Callahan. The Reverend left in a hurry, eager to beat the storm. The door closed. Silence rushed back in. "Well," Nathaniel said stiffly, "that's done." "Very memorable," Emma replied. Will tugged at his father's coat. "Does that mean she's our mama now?" Nathaniel hesitated. Emma crouched to Will's level. "I didn't give birth to you," she said gently, "but I'm going to take care of you."
That part's the same. We'll consider this.
"Can you make pancakes?" "Yes." "Then, okay." Grace didn't move from her place near the fire. She stared at Emma with wide eyes, thumb pressed into her mouth. "You stay?" Grace asked softly. "Yes," Emma said. "I promise." Grace climbed straight into her lap and curled there, shaking slightly. Nathaniel watched, something tight and painful passing over his face before he turned and walked out the door. "He always does that," Tom said. "Leaves when it gets hard." Emma held Grace a little tighter. "Noted." The storm hit before noon. Snow came sideways, pounding the house, erasing the world beyond the windows. By afternoon, the barn was invisible. By evening, even the fence posts had vanished. "We're stuck," Tom announced. "Then we manage," Emma said. She organized the house like a battlefield. Food counted, wood checked, tasks assigned. Tom monitored the fire. Will entertained Grace. Rosie watched the storm from the window. Emma baked bread with Grace standing on a chair, flour everywhere. Grace smiled for the first time. "You warm," Grace said, hugging Emma's waist. Nathaniel came in after dark, covered in snow. "The animals are settled," he said. "Storm won't break tonight." "Supper's ready," Emma replied. "We eat together." "No," he said automatically. "Yes," she said firmly. Tom looked at his father. "Please." Nathaniel sat down. It was awkward at first. Then Will spilled his soup. The bowl tipped and crashed, soup everywhere. "I'm sorry," Will cried, scrambling back in terror. "I didn't mean to." Grace laughed. It was small and rusty, but it was laughter. Nathaniel froze. "It's just soup," he said slowly. "I've spilled worse." Will blinked. "You're not mad?" "No." Something shifted at the table. The air loosened. That night, after the children slept, Emma confronted Nathaniel in the kitchen. "Why was Will so scared?" she asked. Nathaniel stared at the table. "After Maggie died, I yelled. Too much. I scared them. Have you told them that?" "No." "You need to." He looked at her like she'd spoken a foreign language. "They think it was their fault," Emma said. "Children always do." Nathaniel closed his eyes. "I don't know how." "Then learn," she said gently. "I'll help." The storm trapped them for 3 days. Emma filled the time with games and stories. Will laughed freely. Grace stopped hiding. Tom played instead of supervising. Rosie stayed silent, but watched everything. On the 3rd day, Emma sang while cooking, a lullaby from her childhood. Behind her, another voice joined in, soft, uncertain, real. Emma didn't turn until the song ended. Rosie was crying. "I was scared," Rosie whispered. "If I talked, Mama would be gone for real." Emma held her while years of grief poured out. When Nathaniel came home that evening, Rosie met him at the door. "Hi, Papa." He dropped to his knees and held her like she might disappear. The house breathed again after that. Laughter returned. Noise returned. Life returned. Weeks passed. Nathaniel stopped hiding in the barn. He sat by the fire. He talked. He listened. One evening, he stood beside Emma in the kitchen. "You changed everything," he said. "We all did," she replied. "I'm falling in love with you," he said quietly. "I didn't plan to, but I am." Emma's hands shook.
I am too.
Winter broke slowly.
The town noticed. When Emma went to church for the first time, people stared, whispered. At the social, Martha Prescott cornered her. He needed a real partner, Martha said, not a girl. Nathaniel appeared beside Emma and took her hand. "I chose her," he said. "I choose her every day." The town saw that. They saw Nathaniel smiling again. They saw Rosie speaking. They saw a house that had been dead come back to life. And they whispered. By spring, Emma knew she was expecting a child. Nathaniel held her like she might shatter. "I won't lose you," he said. "You won't," she promised. When the baby came, it was a girl. They named her Catherine Margaret Callahan. Nathaniel cried harder than he had the day Maggie died. Emma watched her family gathered around the bed and understood something deep and quiet. She had been sold for survival, but she had been given a life. And the town of Willow Springs would never forget how the girl who arrived with nothing turned a broken ranch into a home. Spring changed Silver Creek Ranch in ways no one expected. The snow melted into long, winding streams that cut through the fields. Mud clung to boots and skirts. The air smelled of earth waking up after a long sleep. And inside the house, life moved louder than it ever had before. Emma rose before dawn each day, her body tired but her heart steady. Breakfast for 7. Lessons at the table. Chores divided carefully so Tom could be a boy again instead of a stand-in parent. Will raced outside every chance he got. Grace followed Emma everywhere, her small hand always reaching. Rosie talked now, softly at first, then more each day, asking questions about everything. And Ellie ruled the house with the confidence of a child who had never known fear. Nathaniel watched it all like a man afraid to blink. "You don't stop," he told Emma one morning as she leaned against the counter, rubbing her lower back. "I can rest later," she said. "No," he replied firmly. "You rest now." He guided her to a chair and knelt in front of her, pressing his forehead to her stomach where their child grew. "I lost Maggie because I didn't see the signs soon enough," he said quietly. "I won't make that mistake again." Emma cupped his face. "I'm not going anywhere." Fear lived in him still, but love was louder now. The town noticed the changes long before summer arrived. People spoke of Silver Creek with surprise, how the children laughed now, how Rosie sang in church, how Nathaniel no longer walked like a man carrying a grave on his back, and they spoke of Emma. Some called her brave. Others called her foolish. A few said she was dangerous, the kind of woman who changed things that were supposed to stay the same. Martha Prescott said nothing at all, but she watched. The baby came early on a bright May morning. Emma woke Nathaniel with a hand on his chest and a steady voice. "It's time." He moved fast, too fast, tripping over boots, forgetting his coat, shouting orders at Tom before remembering himself and softening his voice. The doctor arrived. Ruth Patterson came too, her calm presence filling the room. The hours were long. Pain burned through Emma until she thought she would break. Nathaniel never left her side. "I'm here," he said again and again. "I'm not going anywhere." When the cry finally came, it cut through the house like light. "A girl," the doctor announced, "strong and healthy." Emma sobbed as the baby was placed in her arms. Dark hair, bright eyes, warm and real. Nathaniel sank to his knees beside the bed, his face wet with tears. "She's beautiful," he whispered. They named her Catherine Margaret. The children met their sister that evening. Tom stood straighter than ever, already planning how to protect her. Will complained she wasn't a boy, then smiled when she wrapped her tiny fingers around his. Grace declared the baby hers. Rosie held her gently and whispered, "Promises only sisters make." Ellie tried to climb into Emma's lap too and announced, "Baby mine." The house overflowed with joy. Summer followed like a blessing. The ranch flourished. Nathaniel worked harder than ever, but he came home every night. He laughed now, touched Emma without hesitation, held his children openly. Emma taught lessons under the shade of the big cottonwood tree, reading, numbers, patience. "You're a schoolteacher after all," Nathaniel teased one evening. "Just not the way I planned," she said, smiling. A year passed. On the anniversary of the day Emma signed the contract, Nathaniel surprised her. The town gathered at Silver Creek. Lanterns hung from fences, tables stretched across the yard. Children ran everywhere. People came from miles around. Even Martha Prescott arrived, standing stiffly at the edge of the crowd. When Emma met her gaze, Martha gave a small nod. It wasn't an apology, but it was close enough. Later that night, after the guests left and the children slept, Nathaniel led Emma outside. Snow fell softly, the first of the season. "I watched you step off that wagon a year ago," he said. "I thought you were just a solution to a problem." He took her hands and slipped a ring onto her finger, gold and worn smooth with age. "This was my mother's," he said. "I was saving it." Emma's breath caught. "This isn't for duty," Nathaniel continued, "or survival. This is because I love you, because I choose you, because this life is ours." Emma pressed her forehead to his. "I choose you, too." They kissed beneath the falling snow. Years later, people still talked about Emma Callahan. They talked about the girl sold for $300 who turned grief into family, about the ranch that became a home, about the children who grew strong under her care. They said she'd changed Silver Creek Ranch. But Emma knew the truth. Love had changed them all, and it started the moment she chose not to give up